You have gotten your Victory Monday post-game episode of Locked On Browns. What do we do right after? Well, if you're new to Locked On Browns, you don't know, but you're about to find out. John Kosko, PFF, joins Locked On Browns now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on with the good lady, but obviously she is very, very excited about the Cleveland Browns performance yesterday. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and ELOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jeff Lloyd, appreciate everybody for the understanding yesterday. Just Wi-Fi, all that stuff was wonky. Big thanks to my sister and brother-in-law for accommodating a road show of Locked On Browns. But we are back in business, back where we belong. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. Everybody who continues to join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. As I said, and for anybody who's new, this is normally I try to keep in season the same. As the years go on, my life gets busier, John's gets busier, but we certainly try to make this all happen. John Kosko from PFF. And John, look, the former safety that you are, and there's no way you can talk about this Cleveland Browns team yesterday and not go defense first. And going through the grades, and I think everybody kind of agreed and knew from watching yesterday, kind of gave me vibes, if you remember, John, Saturday night years ago, December, right around Christmas time, Jabril Peppers had his best night as a Cleveland Brown in Denver. And as I'm recording the show, I get a text from you. Wow, Jabril was off the charts. That's the vibe you got. Granted, Grant Delpit didn't get the turnover yesterday. And speaking on Grant Delpit, almost every year has been a slow start, dinged up. The last 2 years, second half was much better for him. But now a contract year, to have that opening day yesterday, and yes, guys, we'll get to the defensive line because I'm sure Sean wants to talk about it. But John, Grant Delpit, hell of a day yesterday.
Yeah, he was the top graded player for us at PFF for the Browns defense at 91.3. He was everywhere. He was excellent in coverage and excellent in run defense. He got a hit on the quarterback, and on a crucial play there. And he was just. I mean, it was the best we have probably ever seen him play. In the Cleveland Browns uniform. It looked like his second year at LSU, where everybody was touting this guy to be a top 10 type pick or whatever, and then he hurt his ankle and he didn't look the same his junior year there. He looked like the guy that we all thought he was going to be coming out of college. Had 5 defensive stops. So if it's a stop for us is a tackle for a short gain or a loss, he had a pass breakup as well. He was just everywhere on the field. Yesterday, just making plays in the pass game and the run game. So really was just an all around excellent performance from him. He was targeted 7 times, gave up just 4 catches for 14 yards. You talk about an average of 3.5 yards per reception. That's basically locking it down. A lot of times when you get targeted, you're allowing the catch to be had underneath the defense, and he rallies and makes the play for a short gain, and that's what he was just doing consistently, and then also locking down on the back end when it was down the field. So really excellent performance from him.
Yeah, I think not enough people talked about the coverage with T. Higgins, and that was very, very impressive. Obviously, T. Higgins, obviously long guy, tall guy, but Grant Delpit, perfect, and was, even though his back was to Joe Burrow, and necessarily waited to the appropriate time to get his hand in there, broke it up. John, we've done some episodes, obviously, over the offseason. First it was Okoronkwo. Then Tomlinson. Then after the draft is Darius Smith. And just talking about what came in here as far as this defensive line. And as I tried to tell the listeners last week, this Browns defensive line, even when they had guys who right now are struggling to be on practice squads, and that's the facts, they played well against Cincinnati Bengals. Now, with this massive, massive talent upgrade, you saw it yesterday. And the one highlight, obviously Miles, and I don't even know if it was just a rhythm thing or even knew what he was doing as far as it looked like he was about to go one-on-one with the center. But you now can have confidence that you can do whatever you want with Myles Garrett. Because if you're going to put 5 out there, you can tell Myles, hey, freelance, because the other guys are going to win because they're good too.
Yeah, I believe he knew exactly what he was doing when he was doing that. I'm about to cross the center up like I'm Allen Iverson or something like that, and he did that as he got a pressure in less than like a second and a half. Myles Garrett was phenomenal yesterday, and we joke about having it was last year it was Myles Garrett and no friends. This year it was Myles Garrett and friends because Zadarius Smith got into the show as well with a 90.5 grade. Shelby Harris was excellent. Dalvin Tomlinson was excellent. And even it allowed the linebackers to make plays. You saw the linebackers playing freely because that up front was able to get after the quarterback, was able to actually stop the run. And I think, it's amazing what happens when you invest in that position and how much better it looks because of it. And they had done, the defense, they had built up that secondary and allowed the secondary to really not have to do all that much in the game. They made the plays when they had to make the plays, but it was the front getting after the quarterback and making a lot of wayward throws because of their pressure up front. So, it's just, you can't say enough. It's just, obviously the conditions helped in a sense for, both defenses. The pass game wasn't great for the offenses, but you talk about a front seven and basically a front four that can get after the quarterback like the Browns can. Myles Garrett, if he continues to play like that, is going to be, a lock for the Defensive Player of the Year. There's some other obviously really excellent edge rushers in the NFL, but he was right up there with the best of them in terms of performance yesterday.
I see we have some things here. And look, I understand there's a couple of questions about coverage grades. We'll let John get to that in segment 3. John can go a little bit more in detail there. What I think my biggest takeaway, John, is everything Jim Schwartz told us this whole time is basically what happened yesterday. I have all the faith in the world in my secondary. So guess what? I'm going to be able to do what I want with this defensive line. So week 1, obviously, adjustments will be made going down the pike. But it's not like he did anything special yesterday. He didn't hide anything from anybody. I have a lot of faith in my cornerbacks. And that's going to allow me to hopefully harass the living daylights out of the quarterback to the point where my defensive backs aren't going to have to make plays on the ball because I don't even think he's going to get rid of it or he's going to throw it away. And look, wet conditions, probably not 100%. I don't want to hear it. They put him out there, so you grade him as a player who was out on that field yesterday. And I told you all last week, it wasn't the game for Joe Burrow to come back if we did not know where he was at. And it's kind of the way it went. We're going to switch it up here. We're going to talk a little bit of the offensive side of the ball because now there is going to be a big transition within this Cleveland Browns offense as the word is official. Jack Conklin, ACL and MCL. It's sad when we watch football as much as we do. When it happened, we all knew what it was. You just knew. Obviously leg planted. Your knee just doesn't go sideways like that. And it's terrible, terrible for Jack Conklin. Guy who's obviously been through a lot physically in his time in the NFL. But there is going to be a brand new right tackle for the Cleveland Browns. And ironically enough, he was one of the stories of the summer. Jeff Lloyd, John Kosko, appreciate you all for being along for the ride here on your latest Locked On Browns. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. This app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. And, of course, to the everyday crowd that keeps growing well over 6,700 now, I thank you all and encourage everybody to join the Locked On Browns party by subscribing to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. I guess, John, you got to start with the quarterback. And even though – look, they both. If you're a quarterback aficionado, that was not a game to watch yesterday. Obviously, neither guy played well. Bad misses. Yes, I guess the ball was difficult to grip because you saw it from both sides. But John, what you saw, and these are some things we talked about in the past, is Deshaun doesn't have to come in and be a guy that competes with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, for those type of statistics, and stay with it himself. And he was able, though, even though he wasn't throwing the ball that well yesterday, was able to make a couple of huge plays with his legs. And then it almost seemed about when he took that shot late in the first half, all of a sudden it was kind of like lights went on. Deshaun played a little bit better going from that point further.
Yeah, he missed a couple of reads. I think he even talked about it in his postgame presser where on that play where he took that shot where he had Amari Cooper pretty wide open. He just said he lost vision of him. So, it's easy to kind of be a guy, especially in those conditions. Like if those are clear conditions and stuff like that, he probably just lets it go. But, it's easy to be in our behind the TV screen and saying, oh, he's open. Why aren't you throwing this? We never know what the line of sight is there. You don't know what it is that you're specifically looking at on the ground floor there. But, I think for him, though, he made the passes that he needed to make. Even the interception wasn't his fault. That was just a nice play by the Bengals defense. You tip a pass like that, that ball is going to get completed or at least, not intercepted if that ball isn't tipped right at the line of scrimmage there. And he obviously made a lot of plays with his legs to make some yards for the Browns and extend drives, and obviously scored on a play with his legs. So I think for Deshaun Watson, he's a guy that obviously in better conditions can put up a lot better stats, and especially if he's back to his career average form, he's a guy that's going to be able to compete with the Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allens of the world, because we've seen that from him. So I think that he didn't look out of his element yesterday like he did last year, which is the biggest encouraging sign there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, one that I thought was a big miss was when Chubb took the snap and obviously handed it to Deshaun, the little pirouette. That's what, I also might be getting acclimated to Marquise Goodwin. 4-2 is 4-2. It's a little bit different. Not every, So he kind of took a little extra hitch. And by that point, it was like, well, now you just gave the Bengals every advantage to try to cover it. But either way, you saw the factor.
They didn't, though. He just dropped it. He still dropped it. So he still put it on him. It's just, again, wet ball. It makes it difficult. Those plays make it difficult.
Other conditions, the ball also travels a little further and maybe makes it a little bit of an easier catch for Goodwin. But we'll continue to go here. But, John, offensive line here, and now specifically, this is a guy we talked about all summer. And when we got to the end of the summer, it was like, well, all right, young man, you had a hell of a summer. If the plan goes right, we're not going to see you. Now, all of a sudden, Dawaand Jones, who was one of the great stories of the summer with his play, with his work ethic, and we got to see an extended amount of playing time, all of a sudden, hey, kid, job's yours. Unfortunately, Jack Conklin out for the year. And do you make it a little bit more spicy? Monday Night Football, first start, and TJ Watt.
Yeah, for him, what he's shown through preseason in the first game where he had 20 pass protection plays in this game is that he's really good in pass pro. If you combine preseason and this game, he's got an 85.3 pass protection grade. He did give up one hit in the last preseason game, 2 hurries, and was just like 3 other losses. One loss in this game early on where it was a pretty late, where he allowed it an inside move on to get beat on. But really, he was pretty clean other than that. And the one thing that he has to clean up is his run blocking. In preseason, it was not good for him. He was a 56, run blocking grade, which, kind of points to, hey, this is the area he needs to work on, and why you wouldn't want to start this guy week 1, and if you obviously hopefully develop him there. Well, he's going to be thrust into that role right away. He was a 38.4 in run blocking. So for me, when I watch him, it was not like he was whiffing on his blocks. It was more missed assignments and unsure of what he was supposed to do. That caused him to have that poor grade. Just a number of those essentially. When he gets his hands on somebody, the guy's toast. Like nobody's getting off of him when he gets your hands on the guy. But for him, he's got to improve that run blocking. I think from a pass protection standpoint, like he might be, already as really he already is really polished, and he's going to be good enough to handle TJ Watt. He's going to have his hands full. Obviously, TJ Watt is a different animal than what the Bengals have as pass rushers. Those guys are pretty good, and Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, but they're not TJ Watt. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up to TJ Watt in pass pro. It's really going to be his first true test of his young career.
And let's hope it goes nothing like the last time the Browns started a rookie at right tackle on Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. James Hudson, though, you've done some nice things to rebound yourself in those times. John, some final thoughts here, offensive side of the ball.
I think they did just enough to win this game, right? Like it still was kind of a sloppy performance. Obviously, you only scored 10 points in the first half. I think they started clicking in the second half, and obviously the conditions factor into some of that sloppiness and all. But I think for the Browns, I think it was a good first week, especially against a really good second, really good defense and really tough defensive coordinator to go up against that usually puts his guys in really good positions to slow you down. You talk about an efficient running game. 200 plus yards of rushing, over 5 yards per carry. I mean, really, Nick Chubb kind of bolstered the whole unit to go ahead, and I think it's a good start to the season for sure when you get a win like that, and the offense was not perfect by any means and still put up 24 points.
Well, and the other thing is, look, we don't get a lot of this. We don't get to see the Browns pulling guys out of the game. And you saw Nick, it was like, what huh? Like, but, it is also important, if this team is going to have a lengthy January run, like they hope and like they think they're going to, 19 touches is just fine. 19 touches, fine. Almost 130 yards. Jerome Ford. And it's funny because Jerome Ford, for the entire summer that he missed, he got all his work in basically, about 9 minutes of action in the fourth quarter. So, you think now Jerome Ford, hopefully, the vision, maybe it was more getting confidence with the leg, and maybe not everybody runs well on a wet turf. But Jerome, just watch Nick run the plays and then run the plays like Nick runs the plays, and you should probably be.
It's what's interesting about the contrast between Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford is that you can definitely see how Nick Chubb's vision. Jerome Ford has good vision. He's a young guy that's going to develop that more and stuff. But he can't match what Nick Chubb's burst is. Just through the line, and when he makes a cut, Nick Chubb is just at a different level than most running backs. Essentially, that's the reason why he's a top 2 running back in the NFL. So, but I think Ford, after his first fumble, kind of settled in pretty nicely and was looked pretty good in the second half, especially the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and he needed to get his work in, and look, I mean, this is the way it's going to go for Nick. It's a little bit different this year, and hopefully the Browns are not going to be having to play 58, 59, 60 minutes of football. And if Nick does what he does, like he did, then hey, guess what? Your reward is not more work, less work, and you can watch the kids play, and we'll get ready for next week. Jeff Lloyd. Jeff Lloyd, John Kosko, your latest Locked On Browns. We'll get to segment 3 here. I see there's already some questions about some coverage grades, so we're going to let John address those. Close it out here. Segment 3 coming up next, your latest Locked On Browns. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Me personally, Prize Picks is a lot of fun. I've had winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Look, it's Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I'm watching the game anyway. What makes it a little bit more exciting for me? Putting together a lineup. Pick 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that you like, and whether they're going to go over, whether they're going to go under, put your bet in and just sit back and watch the game. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. And with all of this, as always, we thank you to the good folks over at Prize Picks. Things are working wonky today. We are back. Segment 3, Jeff Floyd, John Kosko, your latest Locked On Browns. I have no idea what's going on here today, folks, but we are at where we're at. John, we've actually got a question here. Mr. Cosmo, and it was nice to see you. From Mr. Cosmo, a question for Mr. Kosko. John, obviously there's a couple of questions as far as coverage grades. I think some people feel that maybe some things are on the lower side. Not everything can be credited to the player.
Right. Some of it is scheme. Some of it's like a combination of just overall good defense. Some of it is the quarterback completely missed the throw. And just because you are the closest coverage player defender in coverage doesn't mean you're going to get a positive grade because of that. And even if you get the throw is missed, if you get roasted on the play, you're going to get downgraded for that, regardless if that ball is caught or not. Martin Emerson was the beneficiary of a couple of those where he had an overthrown ball to T. Higgins that was in the end zone that Emerson was roasted on. But obviously the pressure from up the middle with that caused Burrow to kind of overthrow it doesn't negate the fact that Martin Emerson was still beat on that play. So he was targeted 6 times, only gave up 1 catch for 6 yards. He also did miss a tackle. So you talk about a missed tackle and then getting beat on a couple of plays. You're going to have not any forced incompletions. It's going to bring an individual game grade down, to a 58.9. It's not like he played bad. I don't think anybody would argue that he played bad. But coverage grades are kind of the product of making plays on the ball and then not getting beat. So like if you're getting beat and then you don't make plays on the ball, it just kind of happens to be that way. So is it a perfect system? No, it's not a perfect system. I wouldn't say that. Obviously, like he's not being graded. Maybe there were times when Burrow looked his way, and Martin, Emerson was blanketing his receiver, so Burrow had to go somewhere else. Like in the PFF overall grade, that's not captured. So it's just not a we're looking more from a grading perspective of on target, the targeted throws that he's making, who's in coverage there, and are they making a play on the ball? Denzel Ward had a missed tackle as well. He had a couple of pass breakups, but he also gave up a couple of first downs. So it's just kind of like there's the balance there. So his grade was not great, not bad, but it was nothing spectacular, and it was a large product of the defensive line really getting after Burrow, and then Burrow missing a lot of throws. He had 7, balls that were on, he targeted that were overthrown or dropped or something like that. That was through no cause of the defense. So except the secondary, I should say. So it's just a little sneak of how things go into the grading aspect of that. It's just total team effort, really.
All right, let's get to one last player then. Obviously, a lot of talk was all offseason about Greg Newsome. Where was he going to play? Where did he want to play? Where were the Browns going to use him? Well, wherever Greg Newsome was yesterday, Greg Newsome had a nice day. You saw a really, really nice day from Greg Newsome.
Yeah, he was mostly in the slot where they put him in this game, and then he had a great grade of like an 80.8. Had a pass breakup, had a couple of tackles, that were short stops or whatever for him. So for him, he was operating out of the slot, and he was locking his guy down in coverage. He had he did give up one first down, but he did make a stop, made a forcing completion, on 3 targets, 2 catches for 18 yards. And he was, again, operating out of the slot. It also depends on, average depth of target of where he's allowing things on. If it's a money down type of thing of when he's getting targeted as well, how that factors into, the grade as well. So he was excellent all over the field, basically when he was targeted yesterday.
Well, Cleveland Browns 1-0 next week to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who lost 30-7 yesterday to the San Francisco 49ers. John, I'm not sure how much you got into it, but was it the San Francisco 49ers or was it some questions about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
It's a combination of both. It was kind of like the Browns game in a sense where the Browns defense was kind of dominant and then the quarterback was not good. So Pickett was not good. He was missing a lot of throws. I don't know if it was raining there as well, because it looked like the field was not strong, as the guys were slipping. Pat Freiermuth.
No, and you also got to remember though there was the game played there the night before.
That there you go. So there's maybe that was an aspect of it, because the field did not look great for the Steelers guys, and they obviously play on the same field and everything, but Pat Freiermuth looked like he tore his ACL on a play. I thought for sure, because his knee buckled out from under him as he was trying to reach for a ball. Pickett underthrew a ball to Dawaand Johnson that was intercepted. That Dawaand looked like when he tried to come back for it, slipped. So there was some aspects of that, but I think the 49ers defense being dominant, Pickett was just not good. Far cry from his. Don't give him don't give him a gold jacket just yet for his 158.3 passer rating in the preseason.
Against a whole bunch of guys who are currently substitute teaching. There we go. There's my Steelers jab. Look, it's Steelers week has started, so I can get my first jab in, guys. So we're going to continue to do that, by the way. Yes. But he is John Kosko, obviously part of the PFF team. We've been doing these episodes for years now. They're one of my favorite to do. But the point is to bring this in, and like we just did here in segment 3, is you guys have questions sometimes, and I see that the tweets, guys. If you ask John, he'll explain it to you. He really will. So, he'll tell you from his perspective why they graded it like they do, which is why we have done these episodes, and they've always done very well. So I appreciate you all for coming along. Make sure, of course, you're following at John Kosko 3. It is JOHN, and John knows for why I refer to him as JON. A story for another day. I am Jeff Lloyd, obviously your host here, now 7th season with the Cleveland Browns here at Locked On Browns. It's been a hell of a ride. I literally felt like a kid last night. It was tough. I had to go to bed. But I just didn't want to. Because we don't get those type of moments. Hopefully this is, foreshadowing for what the next few months are going to bring for all of us here, because God knows this fan base and all you fine people deserve a winner. And maybe we're getting closer and closer to that opportunity for you all. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.